Yo, what's up, guys? We finally got the tomorrow update. Notes was just talking to the guild a bit to clarify a few things. Still, a few things are a little bit unclear, but there's a lot of good stuff in this kind of notice right now. So let's just go through all of it. So first of all, we want to congratulate Poop. Definitely well played. We're going to be back for 2026 SWC. And then that kind of stuff. So these are the highlights of the things we have. We got the gangsta buff, as I would like to call that. Dimensional Hall revamp. Scout Battle, PvE content in the form of the Theos, or the Temple of Chaos, and then the Refinement Stone Core Fragment, PvP boost, which we haven't seen that much about yet, and then the special summon list for new players. So there's a lot of good stuff to this. So let's first go to all of this. So the Ameria's Luck, aka the Gangster Boost, is where you get up to 5 times more drop rewards in Kairos Dungeon. They remove all hero or all the blue grades, all the unknown scrolls, all the rune crafting, all of the crap we really don't want to see. And the first 500 G on the day, you just get runes, and all of those runes are hero or legendary runes, and the legendary rune rate apparently is 40%, which is absolutely insane for that first. Plus, you actually do get cheaper entries as well. So is this just the entry? So we also changed that. Okay, so the entry cost does go down. So the main things to notice are definitely the Abyss Heart. So the Abyss Heart goes back to 8, whereas we used to farm for 9. That's good. It's also interesting to see that these go down to 2. These are definitely the underrated things that a lot of people weren't really farming as much. I would have liked it if they also added where you could get higher rewards than the 3.5 mil for better drop rate in that, but they didn't go for anything like that. But then again, -1 on everything does kind of mean stop farming right now. Stop farming until this update hits, and then you start farming again. Then we also do have that it's the server time reset. Yep, definitely does make sense. Does not consume if you're on defeat. That's also really good. And then this and this is what you can get from all of those. Okay, good stuff. And then you also see it on the top right where you have them. Man, this also looks insane. They did also mention that they were going to up this number, but I haven't really seen it in the screenshot. This is up to 1,000, and if you have a bunch of those statues, you get like 1,150, it seems. This is what you can see over there. Okay, does make sense, does make sense. During the battle, it shows that over there as well, and it shows there. Okay, makes sense, just where it all shows. Okay, and that's just a 500. All good stuff. Then we have the Dimensional Hall revamp, which is the rewards will be improved for level 5. Level 6-star rare runes are no longer dropped. That is definitely really, really nice. So we're getting a higher chance. Wait, so yeah, this is definitely for legendary grindstones and gems. That's going to be a lot and a lot higher, which is definitely interesting right there. Also, we had previously 1 recharge per 2 hours. Now we have 1 recharge per 15 minutes. But we do also have a it's going to be costing 5 to go in these kind of things. But therefore, you still get, someone did the calculations before, it was like 37.5% more entries per week. That's kind of the style. But it did showcase later that the 2A dungeons are actually a lot cheaper on this as well. So they're definitely trying to force people, or not necessarily force people, but recommend people to start farming this for the runes rather than just farming the 2As. But definitely getting the 2As, but all of that kind of good stuff is definitely there. They also did upgrade the buildings and that kind of stuff. That makes sense. Buying for the dimensional energy for the shop is still the same price as was. So they upped it on one point, they upped it on the other point. So that's kind of the same thing out there. They did change it where dimensional rate is cheaper to enter. And the dimensional dungeon is, well, 5. I thought it was going to be all 5. But it's actually going to be the Second Awakening dungeon only costs 2. That is so crazy cheap to Devilmon or to dupe your 2As. That is absolutely freaking insane. That's really, really good. Does it make it also more interesting to go into dimensional rates? Maybe if you need a very specific, let's say, grind on a Swift rune and you're normally not farming the Swift part, that definitely might make a little bit of sense. They also reduced the amount of entries that you have to do for a Second Awakening in the first place, so you only need 57. Probably if you have the new beginner account buff, you only need like 35, and then you only need 2 entries. But this is going to be so cheap. I think you can just 2A the whole freaking roster in the first day as long as you have like the dupes on like the normal units, which is absolutely insane. As the number of playable runs in Dimensional Hall increases, we aim to reduce the perceived burden of the speeding up the dimensional dungeon through balancing tuning. I thought that they were maybe going to remove one of the phases or something, or remove like one of the two earlier waves that are always in these kind of dungeons, but they did not really mention that as well. So they just say it's like they're going to be slightly weaker rather than anything. So that's fine, okay. And then they also do say what the main thing is. So then they go for the scout battle. And scout battle, it was not known yet before this notice what was the idea of when can you actually start going into scout battle. So apparently you can run up to 8 hours, 2 hours, or 4 hours to fit your schedule. They did mention that you can turn it on and off exactly as you want and you regain your energy, but let's actually see if that works out. You can start the carriage button and reference any specific dungeon you have cleared the floor before. Yes, you cannot do that at the same time. That definitely does make a lot of sense. While preparing the scout battle, we had some concerns to address. If the scout battle as is strategy decks optimized for fast clears. Okay, so we said 180 battles for 8 hours is the baseline, sure, and it goes up to 120 battles, depending on how fast you clear and your average time for 30 battle. Then also, please, for the love of God, make your rankings, the ranking that we have over here. I do have the game open. I do think, yes, sir, the one that you have over here, ranking, make this on auto. Like, who cares about someone's fastest rank? Make it like the ranks for the fastest clears on average, because that is the thing that you're trying to emphasize with this as well. So it might make a lot of sense to also put that towards the leaderboards. But then again, it doesn't really matter as much. The number of the scout battles by dungeon according to replay battles are as following. So these are for the Rift dungeon. So if you get 7 mil, you can go for a lot more. Don't really think that people are going to go into the Rift battles as much with their scout battle. Then we have the time for Rift Raids and Kairos dungeons. So if you're getting an average run time, so this is just if you clear first 30. So I think you have to clear a first 30 to be able to do this. But you can clear a first 30 on like super slow, super consistent runs. And you're already able to do this, which is definitely nice numbers right there. And yeah, that's actually quite nice. That's quite nice. On the other side, if you get 40-second runs, which I think is doable in everything except Necro. Necro's kind of hard to get to 40-second runs in general, because Necro's just way slower. I think I'm on the edge of probably able to get that. I'm not even sure. Like, what's my profile looking like for the fastest run on Necro? Because Necro is way harder than the others for doing that. My Necropolis team, okay, I did get a 20-second team on that as well. That's actually kind of crazy fast. But yeah, getting this on everything outside of Necro is kind of doable. Necro might be kind of an issue to get this. But then again, I think a lot of people, what I would recommend to farm this with is the dungeon that fails the most. So therefore, we're looking at Steel Fortress. Punish the Script is an option, but Punish the Script is actually crazy fast, and there's a new upgraded team, and I might even have an upgraded team on the upgraded team pretty soon, but that is video of tomorrow, maybe the day after. But yeah, I think that this is definitely really nice. I will be making a video of what I do recommend to go for Scout Battle. As I mentioned, probably you want to farm something with Scout Battle that you normally do not farm, because you don't have to have your dungeon teams ruined up to do this. You just have to clear it once, and then you can just go in. So you don't have any teams running for this. It's just going in. And therefore, running something that you don't have currently ruined up is way better than running something that you currently have ruined up. Which also does mean for the people that don't normally did like to have everything ruined up at the same time, you could say it's like, oh, I completely de-ruin my SF team or completely de-ruin my R5 team. And every time I go into Scout Battle, I do exactly that I fully de-ruined. And I think that that is a really good strategy to farm a little bit of everything, because it's never good to say it's like, oh, I'm always farming Giants, and then I go in Scout Battle also in Giants. That's kind of useless. Put that in Dragons, put that in R5, put that in SF, put it in anything. So this is what that looks like. Did they mention anything about getting back the energy if you quit any earlier? So this is your location, how long you farm, sure, okay. In Rift it's 450 energy, sure, okay. This is how much energy it costs for all of those. Definitely makes sense. Okay, yep. You can stop the battle at any time. Once the battle started, unless there's detected up front, the remaining time will be displayed. You can enter at any point and switch back to that. You will receive the accomplished battles, and any of the unused energy is refunded automatically. Okay, that's nice. That's nice. That's good stuff. And then you just get it like this, really goated. For me personally, I will mainly use this, as mentioned in my previous video, when I go to sleep. But I do also think that a lot of people was like, oh, I'm going into a work meeting for 2 hours. let me hop on the 2 hours just going in, or I have like a busy like dinner date, whatever, and then some other stuff going after. Put it on a few hours. So it's definitely nice to always ping pong back and forth, saying like, oh, I cannot play right now. Always put Scout Battle on. Plus, it's also cheaper to go in the first place. So that's really a nice thing as well. Especially if you're low on crystals, this thing is super good. The moment you get low to crystals, I'm like, okay, stop the normal repeat farming. I start farming this because you still get a lot of rewards for like that. Then the next one is the Temple of Chaos. Did we say anything else? Yep, that was that in a nutshell. Okay, good stuff. Temple of Chaos is newly added to the map. It's a PvE challenge, score ranking based on your players. Okay. There's a lot of questions about this one, mainly the rewards, but we'll get into that later. So the Temple of Chaos opens monthly for 1 week. That's there's too much downtime to that. I don't like that. But yeah, sure, I guess. Wait, monthly for 1 week. So is it just 1 week open, or is it open every week? I'm not 100% sure. Maybe I'm just a potato, or maybe they don't know how to write things properly. I'm not sure. Because opens monthly for 1 week. That just means it's like it's open from like the 1st of the month until the 7th of the month, and then it's closed. But then this part doesn't really state that. So I guess it's just open every day. But they just have weekly cycles, I guess. You receive 3 battles on the day of each month. Okay, and then one. Okay, and you can store up to 9. Okay, that makes sense, I guess. I hope that this is something that it's not just once a week or 1 week per month kind of thing, but sure. And then you just go for the 3 decks, and you have 50 turns. Decks can be swapped in preparation, return to decks, adjust, yeah, for the, okay, sure thing. And then we have this. I think I will kind of look into what kind of this boss does, but for me, it's mostly like just try on error. There's apparently also, there was supposed to be a test mode in this as well. I'm not sure if it's shown in here, but it's definitely something I'm first going to test to get the highest scores rather than just go straight in. So we have this as an gauge, yep, he has infinite HP, yep, and then you just kill, sure thing, makes sense. The boss is immune to continuous damage and effects that are attack bar related, so no attack bar down. And it takes less damage from attacks in proportion to enemy max HP, makes sense. So there's no hard hitting with like Lunas and that kind of stuff. The boss takes turn whenever enemies take 4 turns, similar to the the Labyrinth bosses. And takes more frequent turns if there are fewer enemies. Okay, that's also similar to the Labyrinth bosses. Gain 1 stack of Chaos Force whenever the boss is hit, so therefore multi-hits are a little bit less interesting. Also, team-ups are a little bit less interesting. The stack count resets when the boss is defeated or the annihilation phase ends. Okay. We have to attack the enemies with attack power down. That already says I want to go for some immunity. It's also the big question. I think you want to manual play this. It does have the auto button in there, but I definitely do think you want to manual play this because therefore your units are not doing potato hits all the time. Increase the attack power for 2 turns. Attack the enemies for 3 turns. Gain a stack of chaos. Grant to the attack power decrease. Okay, so you're definitely going for some kind of strip. It's kind of nice as well. Attack the enemies, gain 5 stacks in granted attack power. Okay, so definitely strips you one, maybe even steals. Attacking the enemy grants yep. And then we have the decrease the enemy HP per 1 stack. Ooh, if he has max stacked, he decrease your HP like fully. That's insane. Okay. Phase 2 is attack all enemies with a glancing hit. Yep. Increase your defense for 2 turns. Strip is definitely a thing, it seems. Maybe even buff block. I would definitely say buff block. Buff block might be a lot better than that. So would have to find like a good buff block. Heihachi might already be your... Heihachi has too many multi-hits, maybe. A lot of options out there already. The 2 is that. Increase your defense. Yeah, glancing hit. Sure, and increase this. Attack the enemy for ignoring the damage reduction effects. Damage is increased per... Okay. Now we have get immunity in yourself. Yep, 100% I'm talking buff block on this one. Maximilian, also a little bit too many multi-hits, but Maximilian might be good. Any kind of like decent-ish buff blocker might be pretty solid in this. Might be even a Ling, just simply straight up. And then consume these stacks, and then this. Yep, sure thing. So the boss has 3 attacking phase, uses 4 skills in order. When the attacking phase are used, revives at 0 HP, sure. One outstanding passive is each time he hit the boss, he gains like the stacks, and the stacks will. Yep, definitely those stacks. Is you don't want to go for too many multi-hits. That's why like a Maximilian or Ling Ling might be too many multi-hits to even work with. So that's definitely a thing. And apparently it's also supposed to be rotating in elements. In this case, it's not really showcasing an element-ish, but apparently they did mention in the video itself that it was rotating on elements, which is definitely interesting. So then we have the rewards over here. You obtain the rewards cumulative damage score or the threshold, sure thing. I guess you can get this multiple times for like every entry you go into. And this might be more of a whole like monthly or weekly, whatever kind of reward. So then you can get like another 100 on top of this. The 15 re-ups on this, that's actually a fair bit as well. And then 10 refinement stone. That's actually a good bit as well. I think a lot of people like the 1 percentile and the 3 percentile. I think there's going to be a decent amount of players in that. But sure, there's also going to be the top 10 is going to be hard to get ranked 1, definitely. I think a lot of players that are semi-active will probably end up somewhere in Punishers-ish ranks. This, it really would have to see if this is doable to get or not. That's definitely going to be interesting. Definitely, I will be making guides for this kind of content on my channel as well. I am planning to make a beginner guide, so I will also have like a beginner series, also trying to do this kind of content, so we will see how that works right there. So it doesn't show, yeah, I'm just not too sure like how often this thing is gonna open, but I kind of like the idea of like the whole boss and that kind of stuff. So then we have the refinement stones, which is just re-rolling all of those substats into different subsets. One thing that is important is that cannot be used on ancient runes, intangibles, or runes whose sub-properties have been converted by gems. So if you already had a perfect line, for example, then and you place the gem on it, you can no longer do this. So it's not that you can say it's like, oh, I want to make this one into defense and then I start re-rolling that into defense. No, ain't gonna happen. If you change this to defense, you simply cannot do that. So what you can do is you can use normal re-ups to get the perfect 4 sublines, and then you can use this one to get the perfect sublines into like a lot of speed or something like that. That is mainly what it's going to be used for. I don't think I have too many of these examples just yet, but I definitely think that this is very powerful. On the other side, we have this. And this is actually the part that I mentioned I was discussing with my guildies of what is or isn't. And these are the core fragments. But the core fragments, I'm not sure how the distribution goes because you can log in. And let's say that you have a quad roll on this. Let's say you want to lock in this quad roll. I do think I have an, well, let's just use this as an example. Let's say that this recovery is a quad roll. If you lock in all 3, you will definitely get a quad roll on something else that is not recovery in there. But if you lock in nothing, will you still get a distribution of, let's say, 1 that comes from here, a 3 that comes from here, and then a 0, 0? Or is it might be like a 2, 2, 0, 0, or like a 1, 1, 1, 1? Is that redistributed? Because the only example that we have thus far is this example that you have right here. And then they re-upped a 0, 1, 0, 1 into a, or no, wait, a 0, 1, 0, 3 into a 3, 0, 0, 1. So they went from a 3 to a 3 and a 1 to a 1. There is options that you can go for a full rainbow roll, 1 in each. There is an option that you can go for a quad roll. There's an option that you could go for 2, 2, 0, 0. But they went for the example that gives the exact same output result as the input result. But therefore, it's not 100% sure. Because the thing is, what they do mention a little bit later, if you lock things in, it's a lot more expensive. If you have to lock in 3 to preserve your quad roll, then it does become pretty expensive because then 100 of this, that probably makes it where you can do those like 2 re-ups a month if you want to like quad roll into quad roll. And then there is, I don't know, like 18 different stats or something that you could roll into. So you getting your great quad roll is going to be somewhat hard. However, if that is the case where you just simply, where just very simply don't have to lock in anything and you keep your quad roll. We have been going back and forth in the guild and we don't know the answer yet, and I think we're just gonna find it out on patch day. And that's definitely one of the first things I will try out. So definitely will make that on a video, and I will have whole guides on what I recommend for like both of the re-upping kind of style. So that will definitely come in the future as well. But in general sense, either or it is. If it is where you don't have to lock it and you still keep your quad, I think it's freaking OP. If you have to lock in 3 to keep your quad, I think it is okay-ish, but it will be pretty expensive and costly to keep locking that in every time. So that is just kind of the thing. You can look certain properties to preserve them. Yeah. This is kind of the part, like, both sub-property are also relocated. The number of power-ups remains the same. So, okay. If, for example, Legendary, you had 4 power-ups before, you will still get 4 power-ups in total. Throughout the values will be redistributed. This still is kind of inconclusive if it means that my 3 will always be a 3 in here, or my 3 can become a 2 and this one can also become like a 2, for example. It does not really state either or, and the only example they have where they did one re-up without locking is exactly this one, and they went from same input to same output, just in like different order. But we will just have to find that out what it is. Like, you could go as far back and forth on that. We still don't know. Then they also have PvP improvement rewards, which I think is really nice. We looked at this. You get from like a winning tournament guild. We are the winning tournament guild for the last 2. 1.8k to 4k. But you know what that means? That is absolutely freaking insane how many rewards you get. Because I was checking. If you go to Glory Shop, this one. I never bought anything else from the Seal Shop rather than just LDs. If I get 4k, that will give me so freaking many LDs. I just get a straight up, what, like almost 12 LDs? The whole guild gets like 12 LDs. That's an insane amount of LDs. So yeah, that's an interesting one right there. For the other guilds, you don't get as much of an improvement. It's definitely for like the higher up guilds where these numbers did not improve that much. And now they improve an insane amount, which maybe a little bit pay to win, but hey, I don't mind it because I'm getting those rewards. Gonna be that guy. They also say 5-star, 6-star runes and lower rune quality in the trophy box are not gonna be there as much anymore, which I think is really nice. I think it's also kind of pushing people to be like, hey, actually you get good rewards for playing in a high-end Siege guild, rather than, I know so many people that are just slacking in a G1 Siege guild, so I definitely do think that they're trying to boost that a little bit to give Siege more of an interesting play in the first place. So we also do get our core fragments and our refinement stones in here for just the thing which we used to have, which is this one, which is this reward, this one over here, the EXP thing. So you get a bunch of better rewards over there. Plus, you're actually getting more of these, which is actually interesting. I did do the math on how many LD scrolls you can get from every content every month. This improvement is an insane amount because you get a few LDs over here as well. Getting this at 1.5 times rate and then also giving this, like, all of that kind of stuff more, that is absolutely an insane amount that you get more. So that's definitely interesting. They do also mention that they're starting this from the 13th of November. So that also does mean, hey, that does mean if they put this from the 13th of November, the patch has to happen before the 13th of November. So the patch is going to come somewhere next week. Tomorrow. Yeah, no, patch is like guaranteed because of this patch is guaranteed next week, earlier than the 13th. So I would assume that we're getting the patch, if we're looking at that, somewhere, as I mentioned before, 11th or 12th, maybe on the 10th already. That's my expectation for the patch. But that is already guaranteed for when this patch is gonna happen. Moving on next, we do also get a bunch of extra rewards over here. We do get extra glory EXP for the inter-server battle, so we get about a good times, like a 25% extra throughout most. Well, no, that's more of the higher ups. Yeah, the higher ups get like 25%, and then it just kind of lowers down later on. Not too bad as well. Also, you get more EXP per fight that you do, so it's definitely more interesting to not just start randomly cleaving everything, but actually just trying to kill everything. Drop rates of legendary runes, grindstones into server boxes will be increased. That's also definitely nice. We do also get for the World Guild Battle times 1.5. Like, in the end, just these 3 things together, what we have for the PvP rewards, probably nets you on a monthly base like 5 to 10 extra LDs. That's, hey, I'm just saying, like, if you clear everything, you're gonna get 5 to 10 extra LDs every month. No, actually, yeah, I would say probably 10-ish extra LDs by getting all of those rewards on, like, the high grade and that kind of stuff, which is definitely insane. Also, World Arena, you do get extra medals right now for being Guardian and Punisher. I definitely do think that's nice because just sitting on the 5 from Conqueror is not really as much rewarding, but that definitely helps out a bit to get a little bit more of those. Mainly, you're just buying scrolls, but now you can also buy the Refinement Stone and Core Fragment. And it's just 2 per month, so it's not that much, but it's a little bit more and a little bit more. It's fine. These are actually freaking insane rewards. So normally if you get G3 the first time, you get 160. Now you get 500. That is so freaking many things. That's straight up like, man, you can almost finish the whole shop on just getting like from Guardian 1 to Guardian 3 kind of stuff. So that's definitely interesting one right there. And then we finish off with the special summons for new summoners, which is pretty much just making a list. For existing summons, the fixed list will be prioritized an early progression, ensuring that 5 stars will be summoned from the list. Okay, so I'm not 100% sure if you are a guaranteed pulling from this list. And if you have lower rates, or it's just your first net 5s will guarantee be coming from this list. Units we have are Rika. Rika's good. Brandia, nah. Nora. Nora's definitely really good. Then we have the, what's it called? Perna. Perna's kind of bad in this. Valaju's kind of bad early game. Farad is not really that needed because Farad is more of a, it's Tyrone, just replace that unit. Amber is really good with that. I would say Wusa might be okay-ish. Bolfric is definitely helping out for people. This is the wrong Dragon Knight. You would have rather seen the Dragon Knight over there. I don't really see the need of using a Chow, except for maybe that one dungeon in your Labyrinth. Teshar makes a lot of sense. Panda makes a lot of sense. Or like Tyrannese, not as much. Chunkpong is decent, and Mephisto's kind of mid as well. So I would say that this list is kind of more, I would say this one makes sense, this one semi makes sense, this one makes sense, doesn't make 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 sense, does kind of make sense, and does kind of make sense, makes sense, mid, okay-ish, and very mid. So like half of them are kind of mid. And then we also have them where I think you can select 4 stars. So I will definitely, once I start doing a new beginner account, I will be making a list of what I do recommend for that. So there's a lot of that stuff going on. You can still also pre-register for the tomorrow update, which you will get. I think it's just like the background and maybe like a Devilmon or so. So definitely do that. Let me know in the comments what you think about this. I think in general, it's a really good step for getting just more rewards, getting more things in. I did also read a bunch of people saying like, oh, it's not going to change the game because still RNG is RNG. Yeah, that's just going to be the game. I've been sitting on like 1,000 LDs dry. I know all about it. It's definitely annoying, but I think that they're definitely trying to get good rewards or just like more rewards. And therefore, with the more rewards, you get more chance to actually pull more stuff. I think that's rather their way than adding in a pity system or anything like that. Can be said something for, can be said something again. But I definitely do think that this is a pretty nice patch in general. It's definitely trying to change a few fundamental things in the game where people might say it's like, oh yeah, but I'm still not going to be farming. I think people are definitely, or like they still said for others, oh, they're still not going to be farming. I would be very surprised if people don't go for at least 500 energy every day and then just start using a lot of Scout Battle, even if they don't like farming that much. And because of that, they are still more insensitive to log in. They are going to be playing a bit more. They're going to be looking at the game a little bit more. Whereas they have been more AFKing for like whole days, weeks before that. So I definitely do think that just small logins give you pretty high rewards right now. If you just do that somewhat consistently once every 8 hours. I think that this content might be fun. For me, it's just a big question mainly on the artifacts. How is this rerolling going to work? Either or, I'm fine with the system. It could be one side super easy, it could be the other side very hard, because the cost between 10 and 100 is definitely a big difference. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point down the line they up these rewards that you get from these, but this is definitely the numbers that they do want to test out at first. So, guys, thanks a lot for watching for this one. Hope you did enjoy it. Let me know in the comments what you think about it, and see you as always in the next one.